to today's lesson. So today we are doing some revision of finance and growth. Guys, we've done a number of concepts under this topic. We've done a number of things that I wanted you to see and see the bigger picture with. So now we're just going to put everything into perspective in terms of questions and try and show you which option is better. Is it better to save? Is it better maybe at times to take a loan? You know, those things that we're going to talk about. But just a disclaimer, remember that nothing that I say serves as financial information for you, but it is just me running the numbers because I'm just a numbers person. And that's what mathematics is about. So let's just jump right into it and do just a quick recap of where we come from and what we've done so far, and then start with today's lesson. So stay tuned. Now remember, today our main thing is finance and growth, which is in mathematics. And then we've looked at the concept of growth as the big idea. Under this, we looked at what we call patterns, and that's how we saw growth happening, to say growth is in the form of a pattern. It might be a linear pattern, it might be a non-linear pattern, but we know that growth is about being a pattern. And the pattern then led to us drawing some graphs to show the correlation of maybe number of years with the amount that you are saving or the amount that maybe you are investing. That's what we looked at. And then we looked at also the equations, which we called our models, to assist us in trying to predict what will happen in the future. Now, the context, remember, it was very important for us to look at growth in terms of context. First, we looked at the society, we looked at the things that are happening in our country, all over the world, the coronavirus, all of those things, like everything that had to do with society and how growth is taking place in that regard. That was the first context. And then we pinned it down to mathematics-specific growth, which was then finance. Now, right now, we're going to look at patterns because that was our really big idea that you're going to be taking further as well as you progress with your mathematics career. Remember, patterns are in three forms. It's simple patterns, compound patterns, and random patterns. But specifically now, I'm going to look at first questions that have to do with simple patterns. Now, the first question that we're just going to start with is Jenna invested 3,500 in a bank, right? So this is an investment, meaning she deposited the amount and left it there. Now, the bank offered her 6.5% per annum simple interest. Remember, it's very important for them to let you know which kind of growth we are dealing with. Is it simple, random, or compound? Though with random, you're not really going to be told that this is a random growth. You will just see with the numbers that it is a random growth. Now, what they want us to do is calculate how much Jenna will have after 5 years in her bank account. Now, remember, guys, simple interest is all about having a common value that is being added each and every year. So one way of doing this can be to find out what is the interest for 1 year and then multiply that interest by the number of years and add it to the initial amount. That's one way of doing it. Remember, before we looked at the formulas, that's how we were doing it. But because maths has made things easier for us, we then use a formula to do this, which is a simple interest formula. So firstly, remember, you need to start with writing down your data so that you know what is it that you are given, what is it that you do not have, and what exactly is it that they want you to find. And then you can start calculating. So if we start with our data, remember, they want us to find the value of A, which is our accumulated amount. But now what we are given is the principal amount or the present value, which is 3,500. That's what Jenna started with, her investment. The interest is at 6.5% per annum, and this is on a simple interest. I will just say SI there. And the number of years is 5 years. Now, you always need to start with also your formula after writing the data. 1 plus I multiplied by N. Then the p-value is 3,500 into 1 plus, remember our interest is 6.5, so you divide that by 100, it gives us 0.065, multiply this by the number of years, which is 5 years. Now if I just go to my calculator, this will be 3,500, open a bracket. Please guys, remember that you don't really need to be doing mental maths here. We have a calculator for a reason, so use it wisely, please. And this will then be our answer. So Jenna will have 4,637 rands. And remember, if it's comma 5, you add a 0 at the end so that you say and 50 cents and not just comma 5, because we're talking rands, which is money. So this is 4,637. 4,637 and 50 cents. And this is how much Jenna will have after 5 years in her account. The second question, 7 years ago, so this is in the form of past tense, a certain amount of money was invested in a bank. Immediately they say a certain amount of money, we know that's the value of P that we do not know anything about, but the value of the investment is currently sitting on 350,000. So the accumulated amount after 7 years became 350,000. Calculate the original amount invested if the interest rate was 3.25% simple interest. Remember again, you start with your data. And if you start with your data, this is what you're going to have. The A value is 350,000. The P value, we don't know anything about it. I value will be the 3.25, and then N will then be 7 years. So my formula will be A is equals to, remember guys, you always need to start with your formula, please. It makes life easy whenever you're substituting so that you don't misplace values when you are busy substituting. So this is 350,000 is equals to the P value, which we do not know, 1 plus the interest, they said it's 3.25, so that's 0.0325 multiplied by 7. This was for 7 years. And then I'm just going to go straight to the calculator. Remember not to round off whenever you are busy calculating. So I'm just going to do it as one long calculation and get the final answer there. So 1 plus 0.0325 multiplied by 7, and that's what will be in my bracket. And then I will say 350,000 divide by the answer that I just got, because I'm avoiding having to round off as I'm busy calculating. So this will be 285,132. So the P value will be 285,000. Let me just verify quickly. 132. 132 and a few cents there. So that will be the original amount. So you will then always need to say, therefore, the original amount was, and that's how you will conclude your calculation. Another question now is, how long will it take? So we look at what does how long mean. How long will mean we want time, right? We're talking about time, which is duration. In financial maths terms, we know time is represented by N, which is the number of years. It will take for an investment of 50,000 to increase to 65,000 if the interest rate is 5.5% simple interest. So this will then be, remember I'm always also gonna go back to my data that I need to write. So this is A is equals to P into 1 plus I multiplied by N, right? The A value is still the 65,000 that they just gave us now. The P value is 50,000. And we are looking for the N value, 1 plus This is 0,055 multiplied by n. Then even with this, I'm just gonna do it as one long calculation. So this will be the same as 65 divided by 50. This is just algebra, guys. You guys can do it step by step, but please just remember not to round off your answer. I minus 1 there, and then I will divide this by 0,055. And that will give me 5,45. So roughly, I will say n will be equals to 5 years, because you will need to round it off to the nearest number of years. And then you can then continue maybe and convert the decimals into months. But it will approximately take 5 years for this amount to grow to being 65,000 at that interest rate. Calculate how long it would take for an investment of 9,000 to double. Now here also we're still talking about how long, and now we're talking about it doubling. So here, guys, whenever you see the word double, remember, whatever the initial amount was, you're just gonna times that by 2. You're not gonna make up your own values here. So it was 9,000. For it to double, it means it must be 18,000. And then you want to find how long will that take place for it to double up and be 18,000. So my A value, I left it blank so that we know what is it that we're going to do there. We write 18,000, and then remember again the formula, 1 plus I times n, and then my A value will be the 18,000, and my P value will be the 9,000. That's what we started with. 1 plus my interest is 0,11 times n. So even here, I'm just going to go straight to the calculator. So I have 18 divided by 9, which is going to give me 2, and then minus 1 there. You divide this by 0,11, and it gives me that. So it will take roughly 9 years. So it will take 9 years for an amount to double up at simple interest. Hey, investments, guys, or saving is really not a fun thing to do, though it's very necessary. So guys, so far we've looked at how to calculate the accumulated amount given the principal amount. We've also looked at how to calculate how long an investment will take. So let's just also continue and see exactly what is it that we can do after in terms of calculating what needs to be calculated. Here, I want us to find the simple interest, and this will be the last question that we are doing under simple interest for now. I want us to find the simple interest rate that Paul got when he invested 35,000 and it grew to being 55,000 over a period of 5 years. So I still go back to my formula. I know it's tiring to write the formula, but it's really necessary, because then you are avoiding these little mistakes that we normally make when nerves are playing with us in an exam situation. So this is 35,000 into 1 plus, I am calculating n, my number of years is 5. Similarly with this, I'm going straight to my calculator. 55 divided by 35, it gives me that amount. I will subtract 1 and then divide this by 5. It gives me 0, that. Then you will just multiply this by 100 to get it to be a percentage. Then my interest is 11.43%. So this will be 11.43%. All right. So guys, I hope that puts a lot of things into perspective with what we've been doing so far. Remember, simple growth is about having a constant value that is being added over time, right? So we've looked at an accumulated amount. We've looked at calculating the value of P if we know what the accumulated amount is. We've also looked at calculating the how long part, meaning the number of years. Now we're looking at also calculating the interest rate. Remember that all of this is only going to be easier for you if, one, you make sure that you remember what your formula is. Number two, you always write down your data before you can perform any calculation, and then always avoid rounding off in the midst of your calculation. Only round off when you get to the final answer. Guys, we'll be back with some more. Stay tuned. Let's just quickly go to an ad break and we'll be back. Hi guys, welcome back. So we are still busy with our revision of finance and growth. Remember, we started with looking at some simple growth, and we looked at a few things that were important for us to calculate and the types of questions that we normally have to do. So you know, it's always four things. Either you calculate the accumulated amount, the principal amount, the number of years, or the interest rate. Now let's look at some compound growth and see what are the types of questions that we will be expected to actually answer whenever we are faced with financial mathematics. Now, remember, we are still under growth and the main focus is on patterns. Now we are on the second pattern, which is the compound pattern. Now, Sergio receives an amount of 5,000 from his parents for his 18th birthday, right? For his 18th birthday. He decides to invest that money to assist him to start his business when he's 25 years old. So remember, at 18, he's in grade 12, he's finishing off grade 12, and the parents say, hey, let's surprise you with some 5,000 so that you can start your life after matric. And he decides, no, I will just save that money so that when I'm 25 years old, I can start a small business for myself. And then remember, financial literacy is really, really important. So bravo to Sergio to want to do that. Now calculate how much Sergio would have after he turns 25 years of age if the bank offers him 6.75% per annum compounded annually. Remember, compounded annually means Sergio will be getting the interest at the end of every year for the duration of his investment. Important, we start with data. We want to know how much Sergio would have, but now we're dealing with Sergio being 18 now and going into 25. So from 18 to 25, remember, that's going to be 7 years. So it means the investment will be 7 years for Sergio to be able to accumulate some interest at 6.75. Now we always start with our formula, remember that. 1 plus I to the exponent of n. Sergio invested 5,000 into 1 plus, and the bank was offering him 0.0675, and this was for a duration of 7 years. Now, we're just gonna quickly go to our calculator. Guys, remember, you don't need to crack your brain about mental math or anything like that. Just press the calculator. As long as you press it correctly, everything will be okay for you. To the exponent of 7. And this will be 7,898. So Sergio will have 7,898 as his investment amount, which is quite good enough to actually start a business, a small business that is, depending on what you want to do at the time. Now, Nceba invested 500,000 in the share market, right? He managed to secure an average compound interest rate of 14% per annum during the first 2 years. So this is for 2 years, right? So it means for the duration of the investment, which we do not really know, the first 2 years, Nceba accumulated an interest rate of the 14%, which was given to him on compound interest. Calculate the value of his investment at the end of the 2-year period. So remember, always start with data. Now A is equals to P into 1 plus I to the exponent of N. The P value will be the 500,000 that Nceba invested in the share market. 1 plus the interest was 14, so it's 0.14, and this was to the exponent of 2 because it was for the first 2 years. So this will be 500,000, 1, 2, 3, into 1 plus 0.14 to the exponent of 2. And Nceba will then have 649,800, right? 649,800 rands. Now, the question continues to say, now during the next 3 years, right? Remember I said we don't know how long this investment is going to be. But now they are saying during the next 3 years, Nceba then managed to secure an average compound interest of 12% now per annum. What was his investment then worth at the end of the next 3 years? So remember, at the end of 2 years, Nceba's investment was 649,800. That's what now he has. So for the next 3 years, this we take it as our P value and not the 500,000, which is normally what we make as one of the examples. So I left it there so that I show you that this is not really going to be the case. Why? Because this was initially when Nceba opened the investment, right? But now if I draw just a timeline for this, at T0, Nceba invested that amount, which was the 500,000. But now at T2, the 500,000 became 648. I think 49 and 800. And this was left in the bank for the next 3 years, or in the share market for the next 3 years, which adds up to being T5. And that's how much we want to find at the end of the 3 years, meaning at the end of the duration of 5 years, how much did Nceba have in his account in terms of the share market. But let me just verify what the amount was again. So the amount was 649,800. That was correct. So the P value, please note, it's not going to be the 500,000. It's going to be what the balance is in the bank account at the time. So this will be P into 1 plus I to the exponent of N. So this is 649,800 into 1 plus the interest now went down to 12%, and this was for 3 years. After we calculate this, this will tell us how much Nceba will have at the end of his investment with the share market. So I will just say answer, open bracket, 1 plus 0.12 to the exponent of 3. And this will give me that amount. So it will be 912,922 rands. So remember, this is 912,922 rands. And let's just look at how many cents are there. 21 cents. 21 cents. Remember, we're talking money, so you're not gonna say comma 21. It's 21 cents. So you can see that although a share market, guys, remember when we were looking at the random growth, we spoke about the exchange rate and how sometimes it fluctuates, at times it goes down and all of that. So the share market is not really that much of a trusted thing, especially if you're looking for a short-term investment. But if you're looking for a long-term investment, trust me, you will get some money, because at times you'll find that the inflation shoots up and then you make a very big comeback in terms of your growth, or it goes down and then you lose the money that you saved. So make sure that you make sense of what you are trying to do, and if you do not know, seek advice from the relevant people who can advise you on these things. But you can see that Neba actually took a risk and said, no, I'm investing this for 5 years. Although 5 years is part of the long-term thing, because long-term really, if you say for 3 years, 3 years is not really that much of a long time. And remember, with compound growth, the longer your investment is, the more money you are more likely to get. Even with simple interest, it's really the same thing. The longer your investment is, the more money you are going to get. But the shorter it is, not really much that you're going to get from it. So just make sure that you know that for a fact. Now, what amount must be invested now in order to receive 650,000 in 5 years' time if compound interest rate is 6% per annum, right? So what amount must I invest now talks about the P value. So what must I put in the bank now so that 5 years later I can have 650,000? So the value of A is the 650,000. So this will be A is equals to P1 plus I. Remember, guys, I will always stress writing down the formula before I perform any calculation. So this is 650,000 is equals to, I'm trying to find the value of P into 1 plus my interest is 6%, so that's 0.06 to the exponent of 5, because that's for 5 years. So remember to avoid rounding off as you are busy working out. So I'm just going to do this as one long calculation. Firstly, we can start with our bracket and see what we get. 0.06 to the exponent of 5, and that's a very long decimal, you see. So if you were to be writing down your answers as you're calculating, one will be tempted to write this as 1.34, which will then make your final answer to be incorrect. So please try by all means to run away from rounding off until you get to the final answer. So 650,000, I'm just going to say divide by answer. So one trick again, guys, is just try not to use the on button when you are under financial math or statistics for that matter. When you're doing stats, we don't play with the on button. Rather, we play with the all clear button so that we can just clear the screen and continue calculating, because the calculator normally stores the memory and the data that you are busy calculating. Then you can keep on pressing things like answer, find out what the answer is, and all of that. So just try to run away from using the on button, because it's going to really cancel everything that is on the storage of the calculator. So what you must invest now to get 650,000 in 5 years' time is 485,000. So 485,717 rands, and that's the P value. And this has a couple of cents with it, which is 81 cents. And that's the amount you must invest now. So this is us trying to find what the value of P is. Now, Janet invests 80,000 and it accumulates to 90,000 over a period of 2 years. Hey, guys, let's talk about this. You see, whenever I'm reading this question, I'm thinking to myself, how I wish to have an investment that will give me 10,000 within 2 years on my investment. Really, I would take that up any time. So make sure that you do your research, though, because there's also fly-by-nights in terms of these investment schemes that you normally take. So you make sure that it is a legit thing through a bank or so. But with this one, I really wish to be here right now so that I can also get this much money. What compound interest rate will she need to receive in order to achieve this? So we want to know, if she goes through a bank and says, I want to invest 80,000, but now I want it to be 90,000 in 2 years. What interest rate must she then talk to the bank about in order to get this? So this will be a is equals to p into 1 plus I to the exponent of n. So we are trying to find what interest rate must she negotiate with the bank to say, please give me this interest rate in order to get 90,000 if she's investing 80,000 into the bank, and this is for a duration of 2 years. So back to my calculator, this will just be 9 divided by 8, and then from there I will take a square root on both sides. Let me delete the square root of the answer. It gives me that, then I will just minus 1 there, and then you can see I will need to multiply this by 100. So not really that much of an interest rate. So you can talk to the bank and say, guys, like, just give me 6.1% maybe, and then it will definitely yield you that interest rate. So the interest is 6.07%. I think, yes, 0.7%. So you can see that's how much Janet can then talk to the bank about, to say, how about you just give me 6.07? And you know, whenever you need to negotiate, you must start by 7% and then go down. But you know that your goal is to get to 6.07. Now, a family of 6 mice can multiply into a family of 60 mice in 3 months. Calculate the estimated monthly growth rate for this, right? So remember, same thing. The A value is 60, that's what it accumulates to. P is 6, and then N will then be 3 months. We want to find what is our rate of growth there. So A is equals to P into 1 plus I to the exponent of N. And then A will be the 60 is equals to P will be 6 into 1 plus, I'm trying to find my I to the exponent of 3. And this is just for 3 months. Now, if you go to our calculator, this will be 60 divided by 6 is the same as 10. And then with the 10, I'm going to take out a cube root of this. So this will be cube root of 10, and it gives me that much. I'm going to subtract 1, and then that's what I'm going to get. Then if you multiply this by 100, you see, so roughly it will be 115% in terms of rate of growth. And this is a rate of growth of mice. That's what I was trying to show you in terms of the growth rate, not financially so, but society so. So remember that the rate of growth does not only apply to money, but it can also apply to society. This is one example. So the rate of growth of mice can be 115. I'm sure some of us, we know that whenever we're walking on the streets and we're seeing these mice, we can understand why the rate of growth is this high. Guys, stay tuned. I'll be back with some more. Hi guys, welcome to the last segment of our show. So we've looked at simple interest and some revision under simple interest. We've also looked at compound interest, and we looked at some revision under compound interest. One thing I need to mention though is with compound interest, just note that you will never be required to find the number of years or the duration of the investment, the end part, because we're not yet there. We're not dealing with, there's what we call logarithmic functions. So that's what we're going to deal with at a later stage, and not now. So you're not going to be considered to want to find the value of n or anything like that. So that's why there was no question that I did that involved us trying to find the value of n. Rather, you'll have to find I, P, or A. That's compound interest. But simple interest, all the alphabets, you will be required to find all of them, one way or the other. Now, let's look at the last type of pattern that we said was random growth. Now, we've looked at simple compound. The last one is random. Now, Sean wants to buy the latest DJ equipment, which has been advertised in a US catalog for $4,000. Hey, that's really expensive. But then he wants to order and pay for the equipment online. Then the current rand to dollar exchange rate is 12 rand and 56 cents to the US dollar, right? So that's what we are being told at the moment. Calculate the cost in rands of the DJ equipment. The first thing that you need to do here, guys, is you need to write down what you call the key, right? The key is to say $1 equals to how much in rands. And that's what is going to then inform you as to what is it that you're going to do to convert around this amount. So make sure that you start with the key, especially when you get to the exchange rate, because we might make a mistake. Instead of dividing, we multiply. Instead of multiplying, we divide. So just make sure that you understand exactly what you are doing, guys. Trust me, guys, math is very easy as long as you play your cards right and you start with the most basic things. So always write down what is the obvious and then start with the calculation. I promise you're never gonna go wrong. So that's what I'm saying you need to start with. $1, they just told us that it's 12 rand and 56 cents, right? But the DJ equipment now was $4,000, right? This was $4,000. I'm gonna try and write a dollar sign there. So it means I will need to multiply this by the 12 rand and 56 cents in order to get how much it will be in South African rand. So I will just multiply this by the 12 rand and 56 cents there. Then I will just go to my calculator. So it's 4,000 multiplied by 12 rand and 56, and this will give me 50,240. So hey, the DJ equipment is really expensive there. So that's 50,240. Although we know that they normally make us stands, so we do understand why it would be that pricey. Simone is on a trip to the UK to visit her mom. Now, the current rand to pound exchange rate is 18 rands and 50 cents to the British pound. She has 40,000 rands to spend in the UK. How many pounds does she then have in terms of her expenditure? I still say you start with the most basic thing, which is what we know about the key. The key, we know that 1 pound is equals to 18 rands and 50 cents. If I want to convert around, it means 1 rand is actually going to be 1 pound over 18 rands and 50 cents, right? So just to quickly go back to the question, remember that she has 40,000 to spend, right? And we want to convert that into being pounds. So it means this is 1 is to 18 rands and 50 cents, and she has 40,000 here, and we want to find what this X is, right? So you can use something like a fraction type of thing where it's a ratio. That's how you can then try to find it. So it means for me to find how many pounds that she will have, I will need to divide the 40,000 by the 18 rands and 50 cents. So this will be 18 rands and 50 cents X, and it will be equals to the 40,000, and then from there you divide both sides by the 18 rands and 50 cents. So I will say 40,000. This is in rands. I divide it by the other rands, which is 18,50, and this will give me 2,162 pounds. So 2,162 pounds. But remember that our pounds, it's normally something of that nature in terms of the symbol. I hope my symbol is quite clear there. Now, Sipho buys a notebook for 2,500. He pays a deposit of 250 rands and agrees to pay off the balance in equal installments over 10 months. The shop manager says, I'm going to charge you though, simple interest of 5% each month. How much must Sipho pay each month? Guys, now, so with this question, I'm going to perform two types of questions for you here to see exactly what the bigger picture is. So let me just quickly explain what the bigger picture is. We're trying to see whether it would be better for Sipho to take this split, which is a loan, because remember, you paying something off monthly at an interest, it's a loan. Or will it be better for Sipho to take another route of saving some money per month and then at the end buy what he then wants to buy? But let's see what the numbers say so that we can make proper informed decisions, right? So Sipho actually paid 250 rands at the time, so it means it will be 2,250 that Sipho still needs to pay. But now I want to find what is the 5% of this amount, right? So this is like a simple, straightforward calculation. So 5% is 0.05 times the 2,250, and that will give me roughly 112 rands and 50 cents. So 112 rands and 50 cents. That's the interest that he will be charged each and every month. So whatever that he's going to pay each month will include the 112 and 50 cents. So what he actually needs to pay per month for the 10 months is this, with 10 equal payments, right? So that means it's 2,250 divided by the 10, and this gives me 225, right? So this is 225 plus 112 and 50 cents. And that's what Sipho will be paying each and every month to the manager of the store. And this is 337 rands and 50 cents. 337 and 50 cents, right? Now, this is what Sipho will be paying for the 10 months in order to settle his debt. Because we're going to call this debt because it is actually debt. But if now, what did Sipho pay for this notebook, right? For us to know what Sipho paid for this notebook, we'll take that amount, multiply it by 10, and then add the 250 that he paid in terms of his installment, deposit, I mean. So this was 337 rands and 50 cents. Multiply this by 10, and then add the 250 that he paid as a deposit. That's how much Sipho would have paid at the end of the loan that he took. So this will be that plus the 250. Now you can see that he paid 3,625, 3,625 rands, right? Now the big question, is it better for him to actually save up some money to be able to buy the notebook for cash? We don't know. Let's see if it is actually better for him to do that. What happens if the price will still be the same in 10 months' time? How much must he save each month to be able to buy the notebook for that amount? So clearly we know that if he has 250 each and every month, he can just multiply that by 10. It will definitely get him to that, right? So this would mean that Sipho will actually just need to say the 250 rands multiplied by 10. So each and every month he must put away 250, and this will yield him the 2,500, which is how much the notebook costs. Remember, our big question again is still, is it better for him to save up money to be able to buy this thing for cash? One, the first option that Sipho would have taken is actually the loan. How much will Sipho pay it will be 3,750, right? So you can see it's quite a lot of money that SIPO would have paid. But the second option will be saving. Saving means SIPO would actually pay just 2,500 rands in terms of this. So it means it's 1,250 less of what he would have actually paid if he took that option. So what does this mean? Yes, yes, yes. It's actually better for SIPO to take up a savings plan than to take a loan. So guys, this is just for you to see the bigger picture. At times, it's not necessary for us to get these expensive gadgets in one go. You can always just put away some money bit by bit, maybe the pocket money that you get each and every month, put away a bit of it, so that at the end of the duration of however long you want to buy it, and then you know. I know most of the time these gadgets that we like, they normally tell us a year in advance before they get released. So meaning you might have a year to be able to save up maybe for your next new phone or next console that you want to use, or next laptop, or anything for that matter that you want to do. Let it be a trip or anything like that. But the best option really in life is always just to go with the savings route or the investment route than the loan route, because really debt is really, really bad unless you are using it in a positive way and to make money for you. Guys, that's all that I have for you. It's been a wonderful time of us having to do finance and growth. We looked at a range of concepts. We looked at a range of questions. We looked at a lot of options that we are normally given in terms of money and what we can do with our money. But remember, none of the things that I said constituted as financial advice. It was just merely the numbers guy playing with the numbers. From me to you, the numbers guy. I will see you next time.